So the Bolt EV is dead. Long live the... Hey, welcome back to Plug and Play EV. I'm Steve, and in this video we're going to look at the end of the Chevrolet Bolt EV, and by extension the Chevrolet Bolt EUV. Anyone who watches the channel regularly will know this is the car that we started off with on our journey into electric vehicles, if you don't count a little bit of time in the Chevrolet Volt that preceded it. So we started our journey on the 2017 Bolt EV, and then a 3-year lease took us through to 2020, and there was simply not that much else on the market, so we re-upped and went with the 2020 Bolt EV. Same design, but slightly more range and a little bit bigger battery, and that has recently been turned in. So 6 years overall in a Bolt EV. Very happy with the technology. Obviously started to get a little bit dated towards the end there, and we're now in a car that can do significantly more in terms of charging. But, you know, as a baseline EV, and certainly now the most affordable EV on the market, still available today, it's sad to see the Bolt EV going away. At the time of recording, they're available for around $26,000. That's before the federal tax incentive if you qualify for it, and any local state incentives. So, you know, as a new EV, being able to get that down to the $20,000 price point and below is a pretty big deal, and we've talked about it in the past. That is simply the best EV deal on the market right now if you're trying to get into an electric car for the lowest possible price. But towards the end of April there, that is the end of the Bolt EV according to GM. This will be the final year of production in 2023. And we will be moving on to the Ultium platform. So why is that a problem if we know the Bolt EV is an older model and the technology is getting dated? Well, there's some reasons there that we might want to consider, you know, even extending its lifespan for a little longer. But now we know that won't be happening. We'll look at what comes next and why maybe GM should have held off for another year or two at least. So it shouldn't be too unexpected that this was the case. We've and ahed in recent videos about whether GM will continue the Bolt EV through 2024, how long it will go until they kind of phase that out in favor of all of the Ultium EVs, which is the new EV platform for all of the brands under the General Motors stable. But the only affordable one in that stable that we know of at least is the roughly $30,000 aimed price point for the Chevrolet Equinox EV. Still an affordable price point, certainly on the level of the Chevy Bolt EUV with a couple of add-ons. So should we be grateful for that? Well, the only thing that we have to worry about is that GM tends to do what other manufacturers do, to be fair, in some cases, introducing its most expensive trims first and then working its way down to the base trims at a later date. So if it's not, you know, this is a first model year for the Equinox EV in 2024. If that doesn't arrive in an affordable package, it's easy to see that that could be $40,000, $45,000 plus in the upper trims, and that's really just putting it on a par with what else is out there at the market right now for affordable EVs. So your Volkswagen ID4, your Ioniq 5 EV6 in their lower trims. And while that's a positive move in terms of getting more EVs from GM and Chevrolet specifically at those price points, the Bolt EV and the Bolt EUV aren't really matched. There's nothing that can quite meet their level of price for the range and accoutrements that you get. The Nissan Leaf would be the next closest, perhaps at around $28,000, but that's still a 40 kilowatt hour battery pack. You don't get the same range that the Bolt line offered, and then they don't qualify for the federal tax incentive either. So there's a small list of cars that, or electric cars, that do qualify for that federal tax incentive, and the Bolt EV was easily the most affordable, and again, as we say, getting down to that $20,000 price point with the various incentives factored in. So there's going to be quite a large gap in the market, and admittedly this may be a short-term problem. We're probably only really talking of the 2024 year that we're looking at, that gap between what the price point of the Bolt EV offered and the Equinox EV coming in at its lower base price. This requires a lot of things. It requires GM to get production online quickly. It requires a commitment to get the base level of the Equinox EV in place very quickly. Whether it's in that 2024 model year or beyond to 2025. And then it requires it to come in at that targeted MSRP of $30,000, which is still quite a, a question mark for some people. There's a lot of sentiment that that is no longer a realistic price point, that this was kind of a target made before supply chain constraints and inflation and prices going up across the board. Now, there are other, factors in play. Tesla has been reducing prices on some of its popular models. Looks like the Ford Mustang Mach-E is going in the same direction. So there are those pieces, and the fact that GM models will all qualify for this full federal tax incentive. So you get a lot of reasons to move the price down from that point of view, but still nothing is probably going to come close to this $25,000 price point that the Bolt EV offered. And that gives us the reason to think, well, maybe we should have kept it for at least the 2024 model year, just to bridge that gap between Ultium full production and what the Bolt EV offers at the current point. But despite that gap, let's look at the other side of the coin. Ultium EV is the future of General Motors EVs, that all their EVs will need to be based on that in order to take advantage of the platform, to get it up to speed and production more quickly, and that sticking with the Bolt line would have constrained some of their resources in making that Ultium platform up to speed more quickly. So in that sense, it could well be worth the short-term pain of not having that low-priced EV for the long-term game of getting those more affordable versions of the Equinox EV up and running more quickly. There's also the wider picture for GM, which has some pretty ambitious goals for its electrification, from keeping that older line of electric vehicles, the BEV2 platform, which has limited fast charging, is not necessarily easily adapted to other models, and there would be no point in them bringing out other models based on older platforms when they're all in on Ultium. So again, we see that kind of maybe streamlining, getting all the resources and production in line, which takes a long time in the automotive world. 12 months is not a relatively long period, and they need that planning and lead time to get Ultium up to full speed. So you could say, well, there's got to be a period there where the Bolt EV is retired and the Ultium line is all go, but there's a gap where it's not at full production. Beyond that, there's also the case of, the Bolt EV having been recalled, having the fires and that negative side to its name. There's the limited fast charging that the Bolt EV offers at that maximum of 55 kilowatts, and no real incentive for GM with the Ultium platform on the horizon to up that rate and improve the Bolt EV. So you can clearly see some of the reasons why they're making that move, which a lot of people did expect, and going all in on Ultium. So although it's bittersweet, and I do think that the Bolt could have had a little bit longer shelf life for at least 2024 as that kind of bridge car to get a lot of people into the GM EV ecosystem at a very affordable rate, that hopefully that Equinox EV promised at that 30,000 price point approximately, and then incentives piled on afterwards, will be that vehicle to replace the Bolt. But what do you think? Do you think that the Bolt EV had run its course and was already on borrowed time, or that there should have been another 1 or 2 years of production somehow, however GM made it work, to keep a $25,000 EV in the stable and have that nice entry point for people who could then perhaps be upgraded at a later date to one of the Ultium models? Let us know down in the comments. Pour one out for the Bolt whilst you watch this, and if you're in the market for a Bolt EV, let us know what you think. Does this put you off because the model will now be discontinued? Or are you even more enthused to go and get one because this is the final model year that they'll be new, and this could be the year to snag a deal on a 250 plus mile EV? Keep watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.